Hi, my name is Kevin Richards, and today we're going to take a look at HTC, an industrial machine manufacturer based in Sweden, and how they designed their floor polisher using Autodesk Alias Studio to work digitally from project start with best-in-class conceptual design tools, capturing their ideas digitally from the initial sketches to the concept model. This model can then easily be shared with the engineering team using a common file format, allowing the industrial design data to be incorporated into the digital prototype. Inside of Alias Studio, I'm going to start off by bringing in inventor data so that I can work directly over top of the engineering data. This is going to allow me to sketch and to do conceptual models in sync with the engineering data, basically designing one-to-one over top of it. Let's go ahead and just kind of dim this out so that I can begin sketching, freehand sketching over top of this data. To start with, Alias Studio provides me all of the sketch tools, such as pencils, airbrushes, markers, all the traditional tools that I would be used to for designing and developing this idea. So we're just going to do some quick ideation here of maybe what this rear housing area or the industrial floor polisher is going to look like. For details such as the rear back canisters, I can just place those elements in as brushes. That way I can focus on designing of the housing and not all the extra details. So let's go ahead and finish off this sketch a little bit. Something like that. Let's take a look at some other concepts that I've developed earlier. As I'm developing these concepts, they're progressing along and I'm getting closer and closer to the final production. I'll start illustrating color breakups and different materials. Let's take a look at that process. For the illustration, I'm going to use curves to mask off certain areas. That way I can quickly just fill in maybe this rear housing area. Then I can use airbrushes to start describing the form and the shape. We'll go ahead and use a pencil to describe cut lines and come off with or create the final illustration. Let's take a look at a final drawing. Here you can see the final sketch. But this is not where the design process ends. Here I'm able to use the original curves that I had used to originally illustrate this to modify the design. So as I'm exploring new ideas or even making design changes while working with engineering, I can quickly go in and modify the sketch, come up with completely different design iterations. Maybe we'll explore the idea of this entire housing covering the rear canisters. And I can do this off the exact drawing that I had started previously. Let's focus in on the rear housing. I'm going to use the same curves that I used for the original sketch to start laying out my model in 3D. I'm going to use a tool such as the Curve Network tool that will allow industrial designers of all skill levels to be able to model conceptual model very quickly. So I can go instantly from the curves to 3D. With this, I can continue to explore this concept by moving the original curves. So let's go ahead and do that and maybe bring down the rear housing area, kind of shrink this package down just a tad bit. There we go. And then combination of this with maybe the original drawing will allow me to place this sketch onto the model as a texture. This way I can continue to explore the idea of the details very freely without having to dedicate time to modeling this. With this phase of the conceptual model, I'll simply bring up the cab. And this will be the first point that I can now exchange this data back to engineering to be incorporated into our digital prototype. Any sort of feedback that I can get from engineering will allow me to make modifications to complete the design. As I refine the model, I want to be able to easily modify this. I'm going to use tools such as the dynamic sculpting tools to be able to modify this like clay. That way, if there's a design change or maybe the package changes, I can accommodate those changes very easily without starting over. Very important. So let's go ahead and take this and explore that idea of the housing covering the rear canisters. So I can simply pull this back And then it's going to modify all of the existing surfaces to accommodate that change. Something like that. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the final model. This model represents the technical surfacing capabilities within Alias Studio. This is where we can actually evaluate surface quality and make sure that our design intent from the original sketch passes all the way through to the final model. This model can then be further incorporated into our digital prototype within the engineering software. So let's take a look at the same model inside of Showcase. Showcase is our real-time visualization software. This is going to allow us to see our industrial machine product in context inside of an environment and evaluate surface quality, or even use it for internal selling of the design, or even for the bidding process. We can use shots to animate between different views to tell the story of this product. While the shots are playing, I can also change the environment that we're seeing the vehicle in. So maybe we'll switch this to an indoor scene and take a look at how it'll look indoors. The shots can also allow you to focus the user's view on a particular element. So for example, let's say we want to take a look at how that rear housing would look if it closed up or covered the canisters. So we can do that very easily. We can also have alternatives for all of the design elements, for such as the front cab. We can then look at a completely new design iteration or direction for this floor polisher. In addition to being able to take a look at different types of design iterations, we can also change materials. So let's go ahead and take a look at a car paint versus the original plastic that we had. You can even do different color schemes or completely brand it in a different manner. Wow. So let's place a nice lemony fresh logo on there to maybe identify with a different type of client or customer. In addition to be able to see these alternatives one after another, I can also do what we call a comparison view. Comparison views allow you to look at one design next to another, side by side. So here we can take a look at the two branding options, or we can look at the completely different design options. So let's go ahead and switch that back to the original one. Let's choose the same materials. And now we are able to look at one design compared to another and make a very informed decision in a photorealistic manner of in context where you might see this in floor polisher. So today we've looked at how concept design sketches and models can be easily created over top of engineering data. We've also looked at how easy it is to change those models to accommodate any design changes or engineering changes for that matter. We've also looked at how you can easily make informed decisions within Showcase with a photorealistic representation of your product, or in this case, the HTC floor grinder. This concludes our Alias and Showcase demo, and I hope you found it very helpful. Thanks for your time.